Hello, my name is Chuck Rappaport. I'm the senior partner of the firm of Rappaport, Glass, Levine, and Zullo. We're lawyers, and we represent the victims of personal injury. We've been doing that for almost 50 years. I want to share with you a wonderful and fascinating and rewarding case that I handled just a few years ago. It began with a 7 or 8 year old young man, just a little boy, acting out in very bizarre and inappropriate ways. His parents were really concerned about what they were seeing and what they were hearing from him. He was saying things that were just inappropriate. He was behaving in a really weird kind of ways. And so what did they do? They took him to a child psychiatrist. I think probably that's something that most parents would do when faced with this kind of awful problem. And so after a year or so of treatment with a psychiatrist, after medication, after no improvement, after in fact worsening symptoms, by the time the child was 10 or 11, or perhaps just a little shy of 12 years old, the psychiatrist came up with a diagnosis, and the diagnosis was awesome and frightening. It was schizophrenia. Not only schizophrenia, but schizophrenia with paranoid features, and that is a diagnosis that if you understand it, and these parents came to understand it, can cause you to shake with fear. They stayed with the psychiatrist. They asked for him to look at it again, to think about it again, but the diagnosis was always the same: schizophrenia with paranoid features. And so by the time he was 17 years of age, his behavior had become so outlandish, so bizarre, that the psychiatrist suggested that this young kid be committed to a psychiatric institution. And here's what he told the parents. He said, look, this is not curable. This is not treatable. This is a condition that is going to progress as time goes on. And it's just not going to get any better. It's not safe for your son to be at home with you. It's not safe for your son to be anywhere except in a controlled facility. And you have to imagine how horrific it was for these parents and how bad the situation had to be for them to say, okay, we're going to let our son be committed to an institution. And indeed, he was committed, and he stayed there for about 10 months. He was medicated. He was medicated with drugs that are called psychotropic drugs. Psychotropic drugs are devastatingly serious. In the lexicon of pharmacology, they are considered to be mind-altering drugs, and indeed, that's their purpose. When I met this young man, he described the effects of some of these drugs, one of which was Haldol. I remember that quite well. He was on doses of Haldol that he talked about this way. He said, when I took the Haldol, it felt as though I was living in gelatin. If I tried to move my arms, it was an effort. If I tried to pick up my head, it was an effort. Everything was an effort. All I could think of was, keep breathing. Keep breathing. And you know, this young man had come to terms with his diagnosis. It was not only his parents that were convinced that he had schizophrenia with paranoid features. He too was convinced, because after all, why would he behave the way that he behaved? Why would he be unable to control himself from shouting out obscene phrases in public, from throwing his arms about, from striking out at other people, from punching holes in walls? Why couldn't he control himself? He was convinced. So now came a watershed moment in his life. He was sitting in the facility where he was institutionalized, watching television. And what was he watching but an episode of the Jerry Springer Show. And they were doing a piece on afflicted people who behaved exactly as this young man behaved. And through the fog of these psychotropic drugs that he was taking, he watched the screen and he said to himself, "That's me. That's the way I act. These people are doing exactly what I did and what I continue to do." And they were not schizophrenic, and they did not have paranoia. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes.